YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. And the 2020 NFL schedules are out. I'm here to kind of review every single team's schedule, see if it's more of a favorable one or, maybe they got the tougher schedule, a bad layout maybe. I look at more than just the opponents on the schedules. It's more than that. It's the actual layout, where they play, when they play, how early in the season, how late in the season. So we'll check out all of that. You might get an idea throughout this video on who I think has kind of the hardest schedules, but we'll actually make an extra video, and I'll tell you who I think actually has the hardest schedule, or maybe a couple teams in there. So a lot of content on the way. We're going to start predicting. Record predictions won't be involved in this video, but we'll go team by team record predictions starting this weekend, so I'm excited for that. Please subscribe to our channel. 50K is our goal. We're real close to that. Might even be hitting that at some point while you're watching this video, so I appreciate the support. 2 channels. And then we have our Twitter, Instagram. That Twitter is an absolute must follow. If you're a football fan or a Goat House fan, you'll find a link down below for anything you need, including our podcast. Got about 8 episodes out, more to come. Check that out, Apple and Spotify. We're going to start with the Bills here. Don't mind the order here. We'll probably go by division. So just taking a quick look at the Bills' schedule and kind of breaking it down. And I haven't actually looked at all these yet, so I'm kind of doing these while I'm talking with you guys here. So we got the Bills. I've actually checked out this one a little bit. The first 3 games here, I like the draw for them. What I mean by that is I like what they got in the first 3 games. You can come out of that. I'm not making any predictions here, but for these Bills here, I think you can come out of that looking like 3-0. It's a possibility. So I like the first group of games there for them. They got a pretty good draw. But then you're going to go to Las Vegas, play the Raiders in their new stadium, and then you're going to go to Tennessee. It does feel like, for some reason, the Bills just keep beating the Titans in some crazy games, but that doesn't mean a whole bunch there, but I guess that's a positive. But basically, I kind of like the draw in the first 3 games. You look at the next 3 games, though, at Raiders, at Titans, and then you got to turn around and play on Thursday. After playing in Tennessee against a pretty balanced team there, you got to go back home, but you got to play the defending champs, Kansas City Chiefs, prime time Thursday night football. So you get the good start, and I'm not making predictions here again, but you look at the schedule the way it's laid out, they could start 3-0, but then it's a little tough there. But then you kind of get the extra long week to prepare after playing on Thursday to go to New York to play the Jets. Now, this is a bad draw for the Jets. This is a pretty good draw for the Bills because you rather play the Jets when you have that extra time to prepare there, in New York, rather than home, because you're confident you can win that home game week 1. Better prepared, better team. You're confident you can win. So this is a good draw right here. And then you got the Patriots, Seahawks. You play Seattle at home. It's fantastic. At Arizona, it could be an interesting matchup for them because you beat Arizona with some good pressure, but easier said than done too, because you actually have to get Kyler Murray. The Bills are a very good defense, but I don't know if they have the pass rush presence to actually get Kyler Murray. So he actually can take advantage there, even against a really good defense. But we'll discuss that matchup when the time's more is right. But I do like that one, but could be a tough one for the Bills. And you look at the Chargers, and they're at San Francisco. That is a Monday night game, so that should be a lot of fun. That'll be a really good matchup. I think an even matchup between the 2 teams, so I'm really looking forward to that one. And then you got back-to-back, though, so you play Monday night and then you play Sunday night. Some people consider that a short week, technically, but I don't think that's much of one. But and then you got where's the bye? The bye's week 11. That's a little late. You don't like the bye being that late. You see it kind of adds up in the past. Teams that have a late bye week, get more injuries. I'm not predicting all those teams to do so for that to happen, but yeah. Then you look down the stretch. You play at Denver, at New England, home against the Dolphins. So yeah, there's nothing crazy about the schedule. It's not the hardest schedule. It's not the easiest schedule. I mean, playing the AFC East and being the best, projected to be the best team in the AFC East is always a good thing. I guess it makes it a little on the easier side that you play the Dolphins twice, the Jets twice, the Patriots without one of the, a lot of their big top players twice. But yeah, kind of to recap, love the first 3 games. Have a chance to start 3-0. The next 3 games are pretty tough. I'm not saying they are starting 3-0 at the first 3, but they have a chance. They have a chance to lose all 3 of those next games, and I'm not going to predict that, but they have a chance to. But then having the at New York, I think, is pretty favorable. I think it's a good draw there. I like the schedule for the Bills. They're a real complete team, good team. So nothing crazy there. We can move on to. We'll just keep going with the AFC East here. Take a look at the Dolphins schedule. I'm actually, seeing the full Week 1 schedule. For the whole NFL, one of the games I'm really looking forward to, it sounds crazy, is the Dolphins at the Patriots. I don't know what to expect. Are we going to have Tua in there? Are we going to have Stidham in there? How will the Patriots be? We've seen the Patriots in the past kind of blow games early, like, wow, the Patriots really lost that game, and then, then they turn it around like always. So we've seen them, you think they would be the better game plan team, but sometimes they struggle early. They got to try to find their identity to game plan for the teams the rest of the year, because it's pretty hard to game plan in Week 1, so it kind of makes sense. But a totally different look Patriots team. I think both teams kind of have the element of surprise. You don't really know what to expect. So that game is going to be interesting. Very interesting. One of those games where, I start to see the schedule, and the Week 1, I'm like, okay, this team's going to win, this team's going to win, this team's going to win, in my opinion. That one I really don't know right now. So that'll be an interesting one. And they're home against the Bills. So their only prime time, if I'm not mistaken, is at Jacksonville. So you get one game, it's away. The good news is it's not away and a really tough team. So that's definitely winnable. It just kind of sucks that you only get one prime time and it's away. It's not the worst thing in the world, like I said, 'cause you're playing at Jacksonville, but it's pretty close to home, so no big deal there. Pretty tough stretch of, you still have to go to Jacksonville prime time, and then you play Seattle, then you're at San Francisco, then you're at Denver, and then you play the Chargers. That's a pretty tough stretch right there. Interesting. You could really, it wouldn't be completely, I'm not predicting it, but it wouldn't be completely out there if the Dolphins started 3-0. Really, you look at the first 3 games, don't think it'll happen, but it's possible. But then, you kind of get the rough stretch there. Then you see some games down the line. They're actually going to play the Jets, technically not back-to-back weeks, but back-to-back games. They will play the Jets, so that's interesting. I don't know how I feel about the schedule, with that. I think they could have done a little better job there. It should be, I guess the good thing about that is you're basically getting, sometimes they're so split up, when you play your division games, and it's like you're playing a different team, so it's a pretty even matchup, I think, at that point. And then you end the year at Las Vegas and at Buffalo, so that could be a tough, if you're fighting to get in the playoffs there. Nothing crazy. Again, another schedule where it's not too hard, not too easy, in my opinion, for the Dolphins here. Moving on to, let's take a look at the Patriots, more AFC East teams. Starting with the Dolphins, we talked about that. You got to go to Seattle then, and then you get to play the Raiders. So the Seattle game is prime time. That is Sunday Night Football in Seattle. Could be a tough start for the Patriots here. They have to play in Kansas City, and the Broncos be a pretty good team. And then you got pretty tough stretch there. You go at Kansas City, Broncos, 49ers, at Bills, at Jets, Ravens, at Texans. That is a pretty tough stretch, and a lot of these are prime time here. So you got your third prime time game up to this Ravens point here. So, and then you get another one at the Rams. This is a pretty tough schedule for the Patriots. The way it's kind of laid out here. This is so far the hardest schedule I've seen from the group so far. We only seen 3 teams, but this is definitely just that draw of having you to play. You already played Seattle in prime time, but the Chiefs, Broncos, Niners, Bills, at Jets prime time, at Ravens, Texans. That's a pretty tough draw right there. So tough one for the Patriots. It's going to be very interesting to watch this team this year, see what they got. And we move on to the Jets, the last of the AFC teams. You play at Buffalo. And then we kind of talked about that earlier. You're going to catch Buffalo off of a pretty good team there, off of a good break to prepare, and that's your home game. So that's kind of the tough part. But at the same time, you could argue that it's you could prefer to play Buffalo Week 1 at Buffalo, because even if you were home, it may be pretty tough. Because on paper they're the better team. You expect them to be ready to win there week 1. So you could kind of be losing both your Buffalo games there. Even one at home there. So you could argue it either way. It's good to play the Colts, I think, earlier. Anybody that's playing the Colts earlier in the year, that's good. A lot of new faces, new quarterback, any team like that. It's better to play the Colts earlier rather than later. You look at, nothing crazy here, I don't think. Got to go to Kansas City. That's another one, though. You kind of rather be away. Be an away game. Because if that's one of your home games, the Chiefs are still going to be favored. Chiefs versus Jets. Chiefs are still going to be favored, so you kind of just kind of hurts, one of the home games there. So, I mean, if anything, I think you'd rather it be away. Tough stretch, I guess, at the end. You got to go away, Seattle, Rams, and then Browns, Patriots. So it's a little tough stretch there. But, I like that they play the Colts a little earlier. If they're going to play the Chiefs, I think being away is actually better. People will argue that, but for the reasons I explained, I think that's better based on the matchup there. Moving on, we'll go NFC East. We're going to take a look at the Cowboys schedule, one I have not seen yet. So they start the year off Sunday Night Football at the Rams. That's gonna be a good game. Going to be a good game for sure. Could go either way. Falcons, Seahawks. See, the Falcons recently been starting off a little slow, so it's good to play them earlier. That's based on the pass. You can't base too much off the pass, but that's something that usually kind of stays consistent for a couple years at least. So the Falcons have been struggling early in seasons, so it's good to play them earlier. You got the Browns, you got the Giants. It's actually pretty good. You see, they're going to play the two division teams, Giants and Redskins, within the first 7 weeks. So I think that's a good thing that you don't play the Eagles, that early, week 8. Eagles are a team that's a very good team, but a team that they did start to heat up on the end of the season last year. But I think it was due to their schedule, really. But it's a team that, very good team. They do have the injury concerns. So the later you play the Eagles, the better. So they don't play them the first time till week 8, and then they play them week 16. So I think that's a pretty good draw there for the most part. Look at the primetime games. We have week 1. They're at the Rams, and they're home against the Cardinals. Another one here at the Eagles. And then we got the Ravens, Thursday Night Football at the Ravens. So, yeah, it's a and then you got the Niners as well. So that's a pretty tough. I mean, look at the teams they're playing. It's a pretty tough prime time. So yeah, home, away. Yeah, so it's pretty even. Home. So three away, 2 home is what I'm seeing. So yeah, more away. So it's pretty tough, I suppose. End the year at the Giants. So there's some tough teams on here. There's some tough teams. Again, I like playing the Falcons earlier. I like playing the Eagles later. So in terms of the draw, because since we already know their opponents, I think a pretty decent one there for the Cowboys. Then we go take a look at the Giants, and the Giants will play the Steelers to open up the year. Monday Night Football, the doubleheader Monday Night Football. That should be a pretty good game there. Steelers back with Big Ben. Yeah, so I guess another team that you probably, if you're going to play them, you probably rather play later because they're going to be full. You expect them to be fully healthy week 1. So I guess that would be not so great of a draw there. At Chicago, another team if you're going to play the Bears, you want to play them early. So I think the bad draw when you're playing the Steelers, but I think a good draw to play the Bears early on. I'm not saying they're going to win the game or lose the game, but the Bears are changing quite a bit now. Now they're kind of they're going to go with Nick Foles. They got some new faces in there. So any team with a new quarterback, you'd rather play early. The tough part is you don't really have a full game plan on them because you don't really know their identity. So that's the downside of a team like the Giants. But yeah, a team that you don't think is going to be like 100% prepared early on, they're going to kind of find their identity down the road there. So I think that's a pretty good draw. Bad one with the Steelers. Pretty tough stretch though. You got to go to Chicago, I should say. Then you got to go. Then you're home against a good team in the Niners. Then you got to go at the Rams, at the Cowboys. It's a pretty tough stretch for the Giants there. Not playing the Eagles till week 7, but you play them again in week 10. You wish one of those was kind of in the bottom part there for the Giants, so that I'd say good that you don't play them in week 7 for the first time, but then you play them so soon in week 10. For the injury reasons, like I explained with the Cowboys, that the Eagles are a team that they're really good, I think, but if they get beat up, then obviously that can cost them, and that's definitely a high high concern. Not predict them to get hurt, but it's definitely a concern. I mean, same with the Niners, too. We've seen them have some guys with injury concerns, so playing them early isn't the best. It's a pretty tough schedule for the Giants. I'd say the Patriots and the Giants so far at the top, the toughest schedules just by the layouts is what I'm looking at. Mainly like you got to play the Steelers early when they're healthy. This is the Bears is good, but at the same time, at Chicago is a tough place to play. And you got to play the very solid Niners early in the year. They're fully healthy. You got to play at Rams, at Cowboys, and you're going to play the Eagles twice within weeks 7 through 10. It's a tough draw. It's a tough draw for the Giants. Even the back-to-back games away here, the Bengals could be sneaky. The Seahawks at the Ravens down. This is a pretty tough draw. Look at the primetime games. Home against the Buccaneers, at Philadelphia, home against. So the good thing is they're home. There's good and bad here. There are 3 primetime games, unless I'm missing one. Yeah, there are 3 primetime games. They're home 2 out of 3. That looks fantastic. The bad thing is there are 3 pretty darn good teams here. 3 pretty darn good teams. First half of the season should be healthy, so that could cost you 2 of your home games when it's all said and done. Not saying it will or will not, but that's so. First glance, people will say, and I think that's the difference between me, the way I look at schedules. First glance, people are like 3 primetime games, 2 of them are home. Yes, that's a win. I'd say not so fast. I think you rather have those home games, where. It's not so much of a toss-up. I guess, primetime home teams have the advantage sometimes, but those are some tough games there. So I think that's a tough schedule for the Giants, really. Patriots and the Giants so far, I think the tougher of the groups so far. The Eagles at Washington, I'd say really that game could go either way when it's all said and done. I think the Redskins. That's a game I can see. The Eagles got some good offensive line, but they kind of had their games last year where they really slipped up, I thought, in my opinion. Injuries kind of went into that. So the good news, they'll be healthy. That's kind of bad for the Redskins. They play the Eagles, a team that, are, again, really good if they're healthy, and they're healthy week 1. So bad draw for the Redskins. I also can see, though, that Redskins pressure being a force in this game, and that could result in Washington a Redskins win. So either way, I think in terms of the draw, it was bad for the Redskins there, but a game could go either way. You got the Rams, you got the Bengals. Tough stretch there at Niners, at Steelers, home against the Ravens, and then primetime Giants. Is that Thursday night football? Yeah, that is a tough one there. So that's Sunday night. Sunday night, then you go to playing at noon the next Sunday, and then you get to go. Then you play the Ravens at home, good team obviously, and then you got a short week. You got to play on Thursday, so that is a tough draw there. Niners, Steelers, Ravens, Giants. That is a tough draw. And then you play another primetime and it's Sunday night, but you get the break there. You get the break, so bad news for the Cowboys. The Eagles are off a long break, ready to roll. See if they're healthy. The weeks 4 through 7, I think that's a tough draw right there for the Eagles. Then you got some back-to-back away games, another prime time. So that's a Monday night. Yeah, that's another tough draw there. So the Eagles are up there, but I think the tougher of the schedules because you got a Monday night game against Seattle, good team in Seattle, and then you go to playing. It's a short week, I know only by a day, but then you got to go to Lambeau week 13. It's gonna be pretty cold out there. It's a pretty rough draw. Then you got the Saints the week after. Then you're at Cardinals, at Cowboys. Yeah, the Eagles are up there. Eagles are up there with the Giants so far. I think one of the tougher schedules so far. Here, we got to go through a lot of teams though. But yeah, that's interesting the way that's laid out there. Interesting how they do some of these things. Redskins, yeah, like I said, you'd rather play the Eagles later than earlier, really, because it's a good team when they're fully healthy. They'll be fully healthy there. And then you got at Arizona, at Cleveland, Ravens. So, I mean, that's a pretty brutal first 4 games, I'd say. And then your bye weeks at week 8. Where's the prime times? There are no prime times for the Redskins. No prime times for the Redskins. Some people get mad if their team has no prime times. Some people don't care. I'm not one that's, if my team has no prime times, I'm really not going to make a big deal about it. I guess that, you wish you had one probably. Looking at the rest of this, so you got 3 games in a row here away. and then you get to go play Seattle. So that's a tough stretch there for sure. You end the year at Philadelphia. I don't think it's, in terms of the schedule, I don't think it's as hard as some of the ones we just looked at, but it's definitely up there. The way it's laid out here. So we'll see. Redskins could be a sneaky team. You just got the offense got to get it together. The defense is going to ball out. Take a look at the Ravens here. I've seen somebody say the Ravens had either the easiest or the second easiest in terms of strength of schedule, but that's based off records last year. So I never take those that serious. It kind of gives you somewhat of an idea, but records last year is not records this year. Teams change. The records for sure change. So I'm not, this is my first time actually looking at their full schedule, so we'll see if that matches here right now. They got the Browns first. Remember last year, the first time they played, the Browns absolutely beat up on the Ravens. It was surprising, and that's kind of my most recent. There's always proof. There's always examples. That's my most recent proof on why you can't say, well, this team beat this team, so they're better. They should be higher in rankings, or that doesn't work like that, because the Ravens were clearly better than the Browns last year. But the Browns could be a sneaky game. I like that it's home for the Ravens. I like that it's home. They got a pretty good draw, I'd say, playing it at Cleveland later in the year when the teams are kind of more established. I like that for sure. But it could be a sneaky game. Browns could sneak up on them there. At Houston, then you got the Chiefs, prime time. What is that, Monday night? So, yeah, it's not easy there. You get to play the Chiefs again. Feels like they're playing the Chiefs every single year. And then you got Redskins, Bengals, bye weeks 8. Pretty good for them. You got, let's see, any more prime times at Patriots. You don't mind that one at all. Even it's at New England, being you're better than New England prime time. They were impressive last year against them. So I kind of like that draw for the Ravens there. Titans. So last year we saw the Titans kind of stop them in the playoffs. Somebody figured out how to slow down this special offense. I do look back, and I do give props to the Titans. I think they kind of had they had a good game plan to slow it down. But you could make the case that there was some opportunities, bare misses for Lamar Jackson in his throws, but there was a lot of drops too. I don't blame Lamar Jackson really at all. So there was those big plays, very close to big opportunities, kind of missed, and that could have really changed the game. So that's going to be a good game this year. I think Vrabel does have the right game plan, but if they just the Ravens execute, make those plays, we could see a different game. Well, we will see. But after playing, so you got the Colts. Yeah, one of those teams you'd rather play earlier. Got them at week 9. I guess that's the best draw, but no big deal. So you got primetime at New England. You got Titans, who have a good game plan on you. You know that. And then you got another prime time at Pittsburgh, and then you got the Cowboys Thursday night, short week, and then you got Monday. Who comes up with the schedule? Like stuff like this confuses me. So you got look at that. So week 10, 12, 13, 14, and the one you skip over, you're playing a good Titans team. So based on the opponent records last year, I seen that the Ravens have the easiest or the second easiest schedule. That is something you cannot take seriously, because that's last year's records. You look at the schedule. Yeah, again, they got a good draw where they play and when they play the Browns. I think, you playing the Eagles early is not great. Playing the Colts a little later is not great. And then you look at this stretch. This stretch it's tough. The good news is, I don't think anybody wants to play the Ravens in Baltimore on prime time. So that's a tough blow for some of those teams, but that's a pretty tough stretch. No matter how good you are, that is a pretty tough stretch. So I would disagree with the people saying that the Ravens have one of the easier schedules just because of records last year. I would strongly disagree. I'd say that is completely false, and the logic behind that is false. Even if this matched up, even if it was an easy schedule, I still think that would be false. That the logic is false around that. So I can't stand when people are out there saying because of the records last year, this is the strength of schedule. I really don't pay any attention to that. This is a pretty tough one for the Ravens. I don't know if it's not the toughest one, but it's a pretty tough stretch. I don't get the scheduling here. I don't get what the NFL really is thinking. Really, to be quite honest, it's got to be in their defense, making a schedule with 32 teams and picking the prime. It's probably really hard. It actually probably is really hard. So you can't blame them too much, but stuff like that, I just don't understand. To the Bengals, the new Bengals with Joe Burrow, excited to watch that team. Chargers, week 1. That's going to be interesting. We'll see who starts. Justin Herbert starts. That's going to be a tough defense for Burrow to go, I guess, against week 1. But, I guess because of their quarterback situation, that you can make the case that it's a pretty good team to play early on, before they're kind of established what they want to do there. So I guess that's solid. I guess a solid first week. They get the Browns on prime time. That'll be actually a lot of fun. I like that prime time game against the Browns in Cleveland. And they're in Philadelphia, so tough draw playing the Eagles early. You do want to play the Colts somewhat early. I'm looking for it really doesn't mean much if they're kind of in the middle. I know that's a little early, but teams that play the Colts very early on, and teams not just the Colts, teams like that, they have a lot of new faces or a new quarterback there, really. Teams that play them first 4 weeks, I'd say. You got 2 away games, Browns, Eagles, skip a game, at Ravens, at Colts. That's not too fun there for the Bengals. And then it happens again down here after but you get a good rest, you get a bye week, but then you got to go to Pittsburgh and at Washington. Some tough ones where the away games are placed, but not the hardest schedule in my opinion. It's not easy, but not the hardest schedule in my opinion. It's just I just don't like where some of these are. It's just away. All right, skip one, away. All right, we get a bye, away. It's a little tough there for the Bengals. Then we move on to the Browns. The Browns at Baltimore. Week 1, I wish if they were going to play the Ravens week 1, you kind of wish Cleveland would be home on that one. Looking with a bye week is at 9, a little late, but okay. And what do we got here? We talked about the primetime Bengals. We talked they get the Colts week 5. I guess better earlier than later for a team like that. The Steelers. I forgot to look at the Ravens where they play the Steelers, but or the Ravens and the Bengals. I guess we saw it, but playing the Steelers, last game of the year is pretty good. Because you worry about the injuries with that team as well. Playing the Eagles later, that's a pretty good draw there for the Browns. Some away games, but not the toughest opponents except for the Titans, I'd say. Prime time, home against the Ravens, home against the Bengals. So I don't really. You play 2 prime times and they're both home. Some of those I don't really get what the NFL was doing there. I just try to make it more even. So not at all the hardest schedule for the Browns. The Steelers will play we talked about that, at New York. Monday Night Football to open. Could be a good one. And then you got the Broncos, Texans. Play the Eagles a little earlier. You wish you played them later. So same things there. Then you look at the primetime games. At the Giants, home against the Ravens, at Bills, at Bengals. So you got 1 home game and you got 3 away. I just don't understand why you can't be a little more even. But the Giants, you think the Steelers are better than the Giants, perhaps. Same with the Bengals. But then the Ravens and Bills should be pretty good games there. I don't like that it's uneven in terms of the prime time. Other than that, nothing crazy. Then we look at the Bears' schedule. The Bears, I'm a believer that Nick Foles will be the starter right away, unless there's absolutely no practice until then. I don't know what's going to happen, but playing at Detroit, I think you'd rather have that flipped too. Where you play. The Lions are another team. You rather play them later. Because it's a team that's been pretty good to start years, and then they start to get beat up, and then they're not so good. You do have to play them twice. You do have a late game there. That's the home game. You wish it was kind of flipped there. For the Bears' sake, you wish the home game was here. So that you kind of have more of the edge there, and the away game was later on. That would be the better draw. At Lions could be a sneaky one there. You got the Giants, the Falcons, you got the Colts early. So I don't like the draw playing Detroit early on, but I like this draw here, Giants, Falcons, Colts. That's a pretty good draw, especially playing the Colts. Or the Falcons, 2 of them. I've been talking about which teams you want to play early, which teams you want to play late. Falcons, Colts are 2 teams you want to play early. Falcons struggle early on. The Colts have a new quarterback. So some changes, any team like that. So you play them both early. That's a pretty good draw for the Bears there. The Buccaneers, week 5. That's a home primetime game. So yeah, the bad thing is you play a pretty tough team there in the Buccaneers. The good thing is the Bears are one of the better home primetime teams in my opinion, so they have a chance in that one. But then fresh off that, they play at Carolina, at Rams, and they play the Saints, and they play at Titans, and they play the Vikings, who they seem to be beating every year. But that is prime time, and they have a prime time. They got a bye week. It's a late bye week. I don't like the late bye week. I do not like the late bye week for anybody really, but you got Nick Foles, who's had the injuries in the past. So having the late bye week kind of wears guys down a little bit. So that's pretty tough. That's like I said, pretty good draw. Not Giants, Falcons, Colts early on. Playing home primetime against the Buccaneers better than playing the Buccaneers in general or playing away primetime. So that's a pretty good draw. But then you get down here to playing after that prime time, you're going to Carolina, you're going to LA, then you're playing the good Saints team, then you're playing at a good Titans team. Then you get a prime time game here. I think prime time against the Vikings at home. I think the Bears would be all right, really. So that one's not a bad draw at all. It's actually a good draw. And then you got the bye, but then you got to go to Green Bay in week November 29th. So that's pretty tough there. But having the bye at 11 is pretty tough in general, and then the stretch, having the Jags in there is not bad. And at Minnesota, Green Bay down here, like it kind of usually is. Usually it's the Vikings last, but there's good things and there's some rough things there for the Bears. So that's an interesting one for sure. We're taking a look at the Lions. Like I said, I like the Lions. I think the Lions have a good shot against the Bears in week 1. They're healthy. The Lions are good when they're healthy. They're home in week 1. That's good. Then they're playing at Green Bay, at Arizona, the tie game last year, week 1, if I remember, Cardinals-Lions. So that the rematch, week 3, should be interesting. You get the Saints. The Lions are one of those teams you rather play later because you worry about the health down the stretch, and they also all of a sudden, even when they're healthy, they all of a sudden start to fall apart down the stretch too. We've seen in the past. So playing the Colts, you wish you played them a little earlier. Where do they play the Vikings? Seems like, the NFC North, it seems like the Bears always beat the Vikings. Seems like the Vikings always beat the Lions. The Vikings play the Lions in week 9 and 17. I don't know if it really would make a difference where they play, good draw, I guess, for the Vikings down there. And then you look at, you look at the prime times, no prime times. Unfortunate, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. So it's really good draws for these potential playoff teams. You look at you think of the Texans, you think of the Bears, Packers, Titans, Bucs, Vikings. They're all potential playoff teams. I think it's a pretty good draw for those teams to play them down there. So it doesn't really make the Lions, and I guess it's a tough ending stretch because we see potential playoff teams. But there's nothing crazy about the schedule. Just stay healthy, stay consistent for the Lions. Then we look at the Packers. Interesting thing here, the Packers play the Vikings in Minnesota week 1 for the first time ever. That's kind of wild. That's the first time ever. And you look at that crazy rival game and you see it's in Minnesota week 1, and I think the average person would say this is great for the Vikings. I'm going to say the opposite. I think this is good for the Packers. You look at week 1, who's going to be more prepared? The team that just made it to the NFC Championship that stayed about the same. They're going to be more prepared. A guy like Aaron Rodgers, either way, going to be more prepared. The Vikings, actually retooled quite a bit of that defense. It's on a rebuild, it's a retool. They brought in a lot of new faces there. Their offense coordinator's gone. So this is it's not really a new look Vikings, but there's going to be some adjustments with this short adjustment period in the offseason. The Packers will be more prepared there, and that's a Vikings home game. You wish you're home. You going into the season, you probably say, before the schedules, whenever the Vikings are home, they're probably favored by a little bit against the Packers. Whenever the Packers are home, they're probably favored by a little bit or a little more against the Vikings. But the way this is laid out, I think the Packers are favored. And I'm not a fan of looking at lines at this point, and so I didn't, and I don't take them seriously. But I would say the Packers are favored in both these games, more prepared. And then they catch them a little later, halfway through the year at home in Green Bay. This is a fantastic draw with one of their division rivals here. So Packers get a favorable one there. Then they play the Lions at home. At Saints could be, that'll always be tough. That'll always be tough there Sunday night. So that's tough. You play the Falcons early. That's fantastic. Then you got your bye week. You don't like the bye. I don't like. Yeah, I think it's an okay spot. It's an okay spot around that. It's a little early, but it's definitely better than having that super late bye week. That is a nightmare. And then you got at Tampa off the bye week. So playing at Tampa is tough. It's good that it's off the bye week. So that's kind of the good thing. Same thing like the Bears. Tough. You got to play Tampa. You're home prime time. So it's kind of there's good from it. At the Texans, home against the Vikings. Then you got the Niners. The Niners, who they struggled heavily with twice last year, prime time again at San Francisco. So you don't like that one for the Packers. You do not like that one. Why has it got to be in San Fran again? Why has it got to be prime time again? That's a tough one. You play the Colts a little later. You wish you played them earlier. First time you're playing the Bears is Week 12. So that's when they got this chance to establish themselves. You can argue either way. They got, early on you play them. They're still trying to figure themselves out. Got a new quarterback in there, so maybe you don't want to play them later. But then they have that bye week not to 11. Nick Foles been beat up, so you actually played them. You play them. This actually could be bad or good. I'd say this is, don't take anything away from 12. I think playing them Week 17 in Chicago is a good thing, actually, for the Packers. Really good thing. And then you play the Eagles later. That's fantastic for the Packers. Lions, you play at the Lions later. That's a fantastic draw. I think most part, the Niners one. The Niners one hurts a little bit, and you got to play in New Orleans, obviously prime time. You don't like that early on in the year. Other than that, there are some really good draws. The way everything was kind of drawn out for them, the way the Vikings game was drawn out. You play. I think playing the Bears the last week in Chicago, it could be a tough. I mean, it's probably going to be a tough one if they're healthy. That's kind of the question there. And then playing the Eagles and the Lions late, two teams that seem to get beat up or less. Maybe the Lions start to get inconsistent late. So that is a fantastic draw for the Packers for this one. Then we move on to the Vikings. So like I said, I think it's a bad draw. The Vikings play a home Week 1. You think the Packers will be more prepared Week 1. So that could be a home game down the drain there for them. And they play the only good thing, at least they don't play Green Bay in the freezing cold. So that's kind of the good thing for the Vikings there. The Vikings play the Colts early, Week 2. That's absolutely fantastic. Favorable to the Vikings there. A team with a fresh quarterback. And Phillip Rivers, they forced an insane amount of turnovers last year. Not that it's going to happen again or anything. You can't think like that. But just positives here. Just adding up for the Vikings playing the Colts early on in Indianapolis. That's an away game too. So that's I think that's a good thing. I think so. It's weird to some people probably. I'm saying this home game in this spot's bad. This away game in this spot is good. Sounds odd, but to me, I think it's factual. And then you got the Titans, pretty good Titans team. Tough stretch here. Yeah, you go from playing. I mean, really, the Colts could be a good team too. So you play Packers, Colts, Titans, Texans, Seahawks, and then these two are away. So that's I guess that's pretty tough on looking at the opponents there. It seems like they play primetime at Seattle every single year. It's a very strange. I kind of joke around about it before the schedules come out that we'll see the Vikings play at Seattle primetime, and I'm always kind of half kidding because I just don't think there's any way it could happen again. It happens again. So I do find that odd. That it's primetime and it's at Seattle every single year. The Falcons somewhat early. It seems like the Vikings always beat the Falcons. It's just one of those things. That doesn't mean they're going to beat them again. Just something I noticed. Bye Week 7. So being a little earlier than last year's good. Then they play at Green Bay there. They play. So here's the bad. There's good and bad. We're going to start with the bad. The bad is they play two primetime games, Seahawks, Bears, and they have a Christmas game, which is kind of, so they have the three kind of big-time games there. And all three are away, so I'm confused on why they did that, why some teams are uneven there. That's the bad news. That's pretty tough. Those are good teams, too. And it seems like they always lose to the Bears. The good news is the Vikings seem to struggle prime time. People say Kirk Cousins struggles prime time, and he does, but it seems like for a while the Vikings have struggled against good teams in prime time. And why that is a good thing is they're burning their away games on those. If they were home, they may be the underdogs as well in those prime time games. So they're kind of burning the away games on those prime times. There are not a lot of them, so that that you could take. There's bad there because they're 0-3 in terms of the big games away. That kind of sucks, but there is good out of it. You could take good out of that. Again, I like playing the Colts. I don't like the Packers draw. It's a tough stretch, Playing the Colts early is great. Playing the Falcons early is great for them. Um, what else we got here? It's a pretty tough stretch down the road. You're playing the Lions late. Maybe they'll be healthy, so that could be tough. That could be deciding for both teams a lot. There's good and bad here. There's good and bad, and what I don't like is their Packers and Bears games. Those are going to be really tough for them. They could play the Packers and Bears and go 0-4 with this layout, I think. So I'm not predicting that. That's not my final prediction. But yeah, there's good and bad from this for the Vikings for sure. And then we go down to the Texans. The Texans who, man, Deshaun Watson's got to be getting better, but you feel, did they get better this season? You almost feel like the opposite. You play at Kansas City. That's a tough week one, but it's a good one to get out of the way, I guess. It's a burning away game on that one, Then you got the Ravens, you got the Steelers, Vikings, Jags at the Titans. Bye week 8, not bad. Where's the other prime times? Is this Thanksgiving? I believe so. So yeah, two kind of the big time games, and they're both away. So once again, it just feels like it's kind of getting even at this point with the teams that just have all away and the teams that have like all home. Like you think you could have evened that up a little better, So that's where I would disagree with the NFL. But yeah, nothing really that. I mean, there's some tough opponents in here, kind of. Definitely not one of the harder schedules here for sure for the Texans. Then we move on to the Colts. Playing the Jags week 1. They got the Vikings. They got the Jets. I think the Colts will start getting established, the second half of the season. So there are some really good things here. Second half of the season, you're playing your division rivals, the good ones. Look at Titans, Texans. This is fantastic for the Colts. Absolutely fantastic draw. The only division team you play early on is the Jags. So your division games, which are very, very key, this team will be, I think, much improved by this point. This will be a really good Colts team, and then you have you have a chance. I'm not saying they're going to win all these because of that. That doesn't mean that at all. But I think a bad draw for those teams, a really good draw for the Colts. Really like this draw for the Colts. So that's positive for my thinking going forward on the Colts this season, perhaps. And yeah, look at the primetime games at Titans. And is that it? Yeah, so that's tough. One game, it's at Tennessee. Good thing is it's not early on, in my opinion. So, at Texans, at Raiders, home. Yeah, this is a really good schedule for the Colts. Looking good for them actually. So that's awesome there. The Jags, Colts at Titans. They get the primetime against Dolphins. It's a weird primetime game. That's the only one. They're home, so congratulations to the Jags. That's fantastic for them. And you get to play the Colts week 1 if you want to play the Colts early. If you want to play them, you want to play them early. That's good there. Nothing stands out really too much besides that. You play the Lions early. You'd rather play them later. The Bears, I'm kind of back and forth. If you're gonna play the Bears, it's either really early or really late. You don't want to play the Bears in kind of the middle back end, in my opinion. So they got the late. That's good. Nothing really stands out a whole bunch for the Jags. I think not a bad schedule for them. The Titans are next. Yeah, I know that first game for the Titans is that Broncos game. I think it's a bad draw for the Titans. The Broncos going to be a good team this year. You're going to play them in Denver week 1. You got to play at 10 odd time, Eastern time. You're in Nashville. You got to go to Denver playing that West Coast style time zone team. And that's tough. That's a tough first draw for the Titans there. So that's unfortunate. You play the Jags. You play at the Vikings. Then you play 3 pretty big games, good teams here in a row. They're all home. That's fantastic. For some reason, it feels like they lose to the Bills a lot. But doesn't mean they'll do it this year. But I think it's having those 3 home games. Playing the Steelers early though is a little tough. You rather one of those teams you rather play late. And then not playing the Colts until week 10. You got to play them again in week 12. That's a pretty tough draw, I think. Playing the Bears right here in the middle. That's a tough draw for sure. They're home. That's the good thing. Playing at Soldier Field is one of the tougher things. So it's good that they're home, but they got that sweet spot for the Bears. That tough spot, in my opinion. But yeah, they're getting close to their bye. They haven't hit it yet, so maybe they could be worn down at the same time. You can argue both ways. A lot of these Bears games, you can argue both ways. Yeah, that stretch is pretty. You playing the? This is good. This is really good here. Jags, Lions at this spot of the season. That's good. Playing at Green Bay, at Houston, tough. They're gonna be could be playoff deciding. Even if they're in, it could be seed deciding. You're playing in Green Bay in the freezing cold. Matt LaFleur, who was formerly the Titans offense coordinator, they didn't like him too much out there. Packers love that guy. That's gonna be a good one. But it's Aaron Rodgers, freezing cold. Yeah, night game on top of it. That's so for the most part. There's some tough draws here. There's some tough draws. That week one is a major tough draw. The Bills, they usually playing the Steelers early, and then you got the Colts later, like really close to each other instead of playing them early. And this is good right here, I think. But then this is bad. So I think actually maybe towards the tougher side in terms of the layout, how they were drawing their games for the Titans there. The Falcons are next. Falcons got to start off good. People blamed the defense last year, and the defense was to blame. It was pretty bad. But the offense, I noticed a lot in the first half of the season last year. They struggled to get going early. The defense sure didn't help them. They were giving up points, but the offense could not get going. And all of a sudden, they were explosive offense when it was kind of like they had to come back. So I think that was a major part of why they struggled early. They struggled early in games. So kind of both of those there. So we'll see how they can do this year. But a tough early road here. You got Seattle, a good team. Going to be Russell Wilson, well prepared. And the Falcons seem to struggle early on at Dallas, Chicago, at Green Bay. That's a tough first 4 games there. It seems like they struggle with the Vikings a lot. Doesn't mean they will again, but that's early as well. I mean, again, you can argue both sides because these are tough teams. These are tough teams that even if they're down here when you're playing at your best ball, you could still lose to them. So kind of burn these, get them out of the way. I look at things kind of odd, but I felt like I feel like they were pretty accurate last year. Who I thought had the hardest schedules based on that. But then this stretch, it's still pretty tough. It's just because they're probably in one of the tougher divisions in football is why it's pretty tough down the stretch. Yeah. Why are they playing the Saints twice in 3 weeks? Why are they playing the Bucs twice in 3 weeks? I don't like these things. It's a pretty freaking tough schedule for the Falcons there. First 4 games at Minnesota, skip a game prime time going to Carolina. Your bye week is late. Jesus, this is a bad one for the Falcons. At Saints, at Chargers, Bucs, at Chiefs, at Jesus. This is the hardest schedule I've seen so far. Hate to see it. You absolutely hate to see it. That's tough. That's a tough one. Carolina's next. I don't get what the NFL does with some of these. It's tough. Tough job, but the way they lay those out. Carolina's got 1 prime time. They're home against the Falcons. Congratulations to the Panthers. You get 1 prime time. It's home. Big time. That's like my dream scenario for my team. But maybe some people, everyone's different. I don't know. Raiders at Tampa, at the Chargers. I like playing the Chargers early. I prefer playing the Raiders later. So it's not that big of a deal. The Saints. So you're at the Saints and you play your prime time. I don't think it's that, not a big deal. But then Thursday night, you get an extra break for the Chiefs game. That's pretty good. I mean, not going to be favorites either way, but looking at the teams that are in the same division, you think the Falcons, the Panthers. I'm looking at the Falcons. The top of my head, I'm still going to evaluate everything. So far, the hardest schedule, and you would think the Panthers wouldn't be that far up. I think this is a pretty good schedule for the Panthers. So it's weird how the NFL comes up with these things. I think it's a pretty straightforward schedule here for the Panthers. So that's odd. Saints are next. A lot of prime time, if I'm not mistaken, from what I've seen. I would have liked it better, actually. Changed my mind. I like playing the Bucs week 1. Let's get that out of the way. I like playing the Bucs week 1 a lot. It's going to be a really good team. A lot of new faces, though, so you want to play them week 1. You definitely, especially a good team like the Saints, you want to play them week 1. So that's the good, perfect scenario. I wish that was flipped because I think the Saints. Prediction time. Nothing's final, though. I think the Saints are winning this week 1 game. If it was in Tampa week 1, I still think the Saints would win the game. And then they would be home around here. So you could actually argue, even though I think, I am feeling the Bucs this year. I like this team. They're going to be really, really good down the stretch. Into the playoffs, going to be really good. Really good, I think. But I think the Saints could go. The way this is laid out, maybe 1-1, they could go 2-0. But like I said, it's good to play the Bucs early. But if this was flipped at Tampa and home against the Bucs down here, I would be predicting they would go 2-0 against the Bucs. So there's a good and there's a bad from that. You're playing the Bucs early, fantastic. Yeah, I don't like for the Saints' sake, you wish it was flipped a little bit. You want the away game first. Most people don't look at things like that. That's how I look at things. The Raiders. At Raiders, that's Monday night. It's going to be a lot of fun there. The Saints are good, the night games. Regular season, man, they're good. So that's a tough one for the Raiders. And then back-to-back ones, though. And you got the Packers. You're home, though. This is a good draw for the Saints here. You want to play the Bucs early at the end of the day. You're going to play the Raiders in prime time at night game regular season. You're going to play early in the season. Everyone's healthy. The Packers prime time. This is a really good draw for the Saints here. At Detroit, playing the Lions early. You'd rather play them later. It's not a huge deal for the Saints there. Playing the Bears right there. I'm so back and forth on where do I want to play the Bears. Because their bye week is so late that it's coming up still. And this is probably when they're heating up, though, honestly. Then they're at Tampa. So that's a tough stretch. At Chicago is a tough place to play. Then at Tampa when they're starting to get going. So that's a pretty tough draw there. And then you see one here. Denver's going to be a sneaky good team this year. They're at Denver, then they're at Atlanta. Atlanta is better at this time of the year. They do have a tough schedule leading up to this. They're better at this time of the year. Sometimes they give the Saints a little bit of a run there. And then they're at Philadelphia. So 3-game stretch aways, tough games. But at the same time, you rather play the Eagles later rather than earlier. So that's kind of the good thing. But it's a pretty tough draw, I think. You had a tough draw here. And then playing the Chiefs, the Vikings on Christmas. It's fantastic that it's home. So yeah, there's good and bad here. I just really, really like this first 3 games for them. I really like the draw. Like, that is an amazing draw. They were fortunate with that one. But then, yeah, stuff like this, tough. I think playing at Denver, at Atlanta, that's kind of tough. Playing the Eagles later is good. It is away, though. Then Chiefs, Vikings, kind of tough. So, so what I gather here is there's, good, bad. There's some good opponents, tough opponents, I should say. But I like the Saints are really good with these night games here in the regular season. So they got 4 of them there, right? Well, yeah. At Tampa, home. Yeah, so it's evened up there. It's evened up, and then you got the big game on Christmas. They're home, so that's pretty solid there for the Saints. Moving on to the Buccaneers. Buccaneers at the Saints, like I said. It's good for the Saints that they play the Buccaneers early. For the Buccaneers, that doesn't mean it's bad for them. They get to be home against the Saints here. And you look at Chicago's always tough here early in the year, too. That's kind of a tough one. See our prime times. So you got at the Raiders, at the Giants, home against the Saints, prime time, 3 in a row. 3 in a row away, right? Or am I losing my mind? Yeah, 3 in a row away, but then actually 3 primetime games in a row, 2 of them away. I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. But, it's other than that, it's not the toughest schedule. I just don't understand the layout because you think they would be able to handle the Raiders, Giants, but, you're in a tough division. You got to play the Saints week 1. It's some tough games here. At Denver's tough. But I just don't get the layout sometimes. But nothing stands out because of that. Nothing crazy, though. Broncos. The Broncos, I determined last year with this video that they had the hardest schedule by far. I think I was accurate on that. We've seen them play a lot of good teams and play them close while having kind of backups in and barely lose the game. I think that kind of showed. I don't know. The Broncos, let's see. I hated this draw for the Titans. It doesn't mean I love it for the Broncos. The Titans it's kind of bad on both sides. For the Titans, they got to go to Denver, playing West Coast, super late, Monday night. Denver's going to be a good team. You don't have a whole bunch of expectations what they're going to throw at you either. So that's very tough for the Titans. But then the bad for the Broncos, with this quarantine, the lack of preparation, for anybody, I guess, any year on top of it, the Titans are pretty much the same team, a team that got really, really good. They are the hottest team pretty much down the stretch last year, I guess minus the Chiefs because they won the Super Bowl. So that's a team that's going to be well prepared, and it's a good team ready to roll. So this is just bad for both teams, I think. I think it's worse for the Titans. I cannot wait for that game. I absolutely cannot. That's my favorite game, week 1, maybe the whole year. Really, I absolutely cannot wait. Getting pumped up thinking about it. It better happen. And then you got the Steelers next week. Yeah, at Pittsburgh. So yeah, you rather play the Steelers later because the injury concern with the quarterback position, and then James Conner as well. So tough draw. You played them early, and you got Tampa. You rather play the Buccaneers earlier than later though. But so you look at that, and Titans, Steelers, Buccaneers pretty tough. You got the Jets, Patriots, Dolphins. So I mean you got the AFC East roll there. I mean that's a perfect roll for you. And some of those are away games. You kind of expect them to win away games. Those away games either way. Dolphins, Chiefs at home and in week 7. Falcons, Raiders. Look at this. Where's your prime time? Bye week's 8, not terrible. At Kansas City and home against Titans at Jets. Yeah. So they're away twice. We've seen a lot worse. But week 1's going to happen. It's going to be gone just like that, and then you just got 2 primetime away games the rest of the year, so you don't really love that. So you got some tough opponents early, but then you got a good draw here. Yeah, nothing like last year for the Broncos. Nothing like last year at all. This is a pretty solid schedule for them. Some of those games will be good, though. Like I can't wait for the Titans. I'm not a fan of either the Titans or the Broncos. I guess for obvious reasons, though, but for some reason, I just cannot wait for that game. What we got? Chiefs next. The defending champs, Kansas City Chiefs. Texans, week 1. It's tough for the Chiefs to get a pretty bad, hard opponents, really. I mean, there is, but so you got prime time at the Chargers, and then prime time at Baltimore. So I guess pretty tough, I suppose. And then primetime at Buffalo. So another one there. The Bills will be a pretty good team. So playing at Buffalo Thursday night, and then you got to go to Denver on a short week. Is that right? Yeah. No, on a long week. Mistake in there. So that's actually okay. We're okay then. Starting to get confused going over too many damn schedules here. But so that's all right. Playing at Tampa, I guess, is tough, especially when they're starting to get going. Playing at the Saints. There's some tough games in here, but there's nothing too crazy for the Chiefs. We got the Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, new stadium. Thing looks insane. We got at Carolina. Yeah, that's another toss-up game. Like I don't know where I'm going with that. That pick quite yet. That should be actually a pretty good one for week 1. Saints, Patriots. We got the Buccaneers at home, prime time, week 7. Okay. And you're going to Cleveland Chargers. There's nothing. Where's the prime time? Where's the bye week? 6. Fantastic. You get a prime time home here. You get a prime time home there. You get a prime time home there. Are you kidding me right now? Am I seeing that right? We got the prime time home against the Saints. We got the prime time home against the Buccaneers. Home against the Chiefs, home against the Chargers. What is the NFL doing? All right, let's just give the Raiders 4 home prime time games. Sweet. All right, so the Raiders got a really good draw there. They got a gift from the NFL gods, I suppose, there. But, they play good opponents, but this is ridiculous how they have home. They play. This game could go either way. They do have to play the Saints early on. You don't want to play the Saints early on. The Bills. It's a good team. Buccaneers, right when they're getting going. So, they play good teams. Their division's good, but, there's nothing that is, there's something odd that they play 4 prime time games all home. I think that's a pretty good draw. They play good opponents, but it's a very, very good draw for the Raiders the way it's laid out. Chargers. We got we talked about that. The Bengals to kick it off. Could it be Burrow versus Herbert? Would very much like that. And then playing the Chargers, we've seen them no matter who's playing, who's coaching. They start off a little slow, and then they have the quarterback situation. They could be starting off slow. This defense will win them games, though. So they could start off slow here. It'd be good to get the good teams out of the way, honestly, and they kind of did that. Chiefs, Buccaneers, Saints. So that's good. Then I like the second half of the schedule a lot. You can really this week 6. I hate the late bye week. I don't like that. That's no good. Um, but Jets game, week 6, that's where it can start rolling. Is it too late to get going, though? I don't think it should be. You can really start rolling here. Jets, Dolphins, Jags, Raiders. You can get going here. This is kind of tough. At Denver, at Buffalo. Patriots, Falcons, Raiders, home against the Broncos, all beatable. So you can start going. You got to pick up these games. Important games here. Bengals, Panthers, very important must-win games there for the Chargers. So there's some pressure there. There's some pressure to get things done in the right. I mean, you want to get things done every week, but get things done in the right important spots. So these layouts, sometimes these layouts happen like this. And they're intriguing for sure. They got to get their stuff done here. So a little bit of pressure, then go on the stretch and make sure you win these home games. The Broncos are going to be tough. You got to win them. These are must-wins right here. Picking up one of these games would be big time. So, this is a schedule there's some pressure here for sure. And it's a late bye week. I don't like that. There's some good opponents because they're in a good division, so there's really no way around that. I don't really consider that a bad role when somebody gets their own division teams. Got to get the stuff done. They can't start off too bad there, but then you have your stretch. So that's an interesting schedule from the Chargers. Then you got Cardinals. Cardinals could be a sneaky team this year. I love playing at San Francisco week 1. I like that for them a lot. The Niners, a little bit of a struggle against the Cardinals last year. For some reason, I don't think this game really matters where it's at. The Cardinals, we kind of seen what they were about last year. But I think it's still one of those teams, based on their talent, what type of system, what type of quarterback, what they got. Now they add DeAndre Hopkins. It's just a tough team to game plan with no matter what we saw, and that is not really the sample that you can judge off or game plan off of. So this, I think, playing the Niners at San Francisco week 1 is good. I think they have a chance to sneak up on them and get them. Playing them home down here is what you definitely want. So this is fantastic for the Cardinals in my opinion. And you got the Redskins, Lions. Yeah, you'd rather play the Lions later, but they're home here. It's a pretty good draw, I think. I mean, I'm not predicting it, but they can come out. They can be 5-0 after week 5. They definitely can be. I'm not predicting it, but I think they'll be pretty close to that. I do. At Cowboys, home against Seattle. I like the schedule. Bye week 8, that's fine. I mean, this is tough, but they get a long week after that. They can be sneaky on Seattle. We saw that last year. This is a good schedule for the Cardinals. This is a good schedule. They play the Eagles late at home. I like the schedule for the Cardinals. They could be a sneaky team. It's all about, I guess, the fronts, offense line, defense line, front, mainly the offense line. That's what it's about for them. You know, that usually stops good teams from going the long distances. I think looking at the top of my head, I'm not making any predictions left yet. I like this draw a lot. I think they can be a sneaky playoff team, but I think that offense line could still stop them short. They're still on their way, working their way. I like that schedule for the Cardinals. Pumped up for that. Pumped up. Can't talk anymore. Pumped up on that for them. Still doesn't make sense. We're going to roll with it, and we're going to move on to the Rams. The Rams, lots of, I think, playmakers on their team. Lots of talent, I think, but the offensive line is still the question. But you got the Cowboys. I think the Rams are a team you'd rather play later as well. I think offensive lines kind of fool us early on. We can't really separate the really good ones from the really bad ones early on. I think they really start to take shape later on. That's what I've gathered from the last few years. There's really not much of a difference between the number ranked offensive line versus the number 25 early in the year. We start to see the real good ones and the real bad ones. They show their true identity. That's kind of what I gather. Maybe it has something to do with the pass rush really in crunch time as well. I think it does. So the Rams are a team, these teams that the offensive line is kind of hurting them. You rather play them later. So I think these teams got a pretty good draw down here, I'd say. But the Rams, it's a tough first 3 games. It's tough because this is prime time. You're home. That's the good thing. Could go either way. At Philadelphia early. You don't want to play Philadelphia early. You don't want to play at Philadelphia at all. At Buffalo, another place you don't want to play. Really good team. That's a tough first 3 games there. Opens up a little bit. At San Fran, home against the Bears, prime time. Last year, that was a terrible game. Wasn't it in LA last year too? I can't really remember, so don't take my word for that one. But the home, you don't want to go play in Soldier Field in prime time. That's a good draw. Bad draw to start. Some good ones down here. At Tampa's not going to be fun. But then again, back what I said, you'd rather play the Rams later because the offensive line starts to struggle about then. You're not playing really, that's a good pass rush to the Niners. Down the stretch, you got Chandler Jones here. We'll see how the rest of them can do. But the Patriots, Jets, Seahawks, Cardinals, it's kind of up in the air. You're not playing the best pass rush teams down there. So that's kind of the good thing from the Rams. No huge takeaways. We can look at the primetime games. Primetime, home, away, home. Again, I like having the home one against the Bears right there. Away, home. So you're back and forth. It's odd that the Rams have a lot of them, I suppose. Niners, defending NFC champs. Yeah, I don't like playing the Cardinals at home week 1. We talk about the Cardinals. I'd rather have... I just wish you wouldn't play the Cardinals week 1 either way. That's a sneaky game. I just don't want that sneaky game week 1 if I'm them. But and then after that, they're away twice. But those are good away games because those are good matchups for the Niners. You think they can get away and get 2 away games. So you rather have the away games you can win there. Playing the Eagles early isn't the greatest thing. They're home. Then you got a stretch here at New England, at Seattle, and then that's a short week. Against Green Bay, so that's pretty tough. You play later slot too. That's pretty tough. And a late bye week, that's tough. The Niners, even though they were still good when they were beat up last year, we've seen the last several years they were actually beat up pretty good. So it's a team in the back of your mind. You kind of worry about the injuries. You have a bye week, week 11. That's not good. The past has shown that the wear starts to happen if your bye week is later. It's just unfortunate. There's really no way around it, but it's unfortunate for the teams that get the draw. So I don't like playing the Cardinals week 1. You play the Eagles early. I don't like playing at Seattle and then having a short week to play the Green Bay Packers. At the same time, though, we did talk about they have a really good matchup with the Packers. They're home prime time. You think they would be able to take care of business there. But then you go to play at the Saints. And then down the stretch, Cowboys, Cardinals, Seahawks, 2 of those are away. It's a pretty tough draw for the Niners. That's a pretty tough draw, I'd say. Unfortunate, but a good team. So you kind of expect that from the good teams, I suppose. And then the Seahawks to end it off is a long video, but I think, a lot of good stuff here. At the Falcons, fantastic. You play the Falcons week 1. I like that a lot. Playing in nothing. The Vikings home prime time. It's a great draw once again. The Vikings struggle prime time. The Seahawks beat the Vikings a lot prime time. They're good prime time. At home, they're really good. What is that, the Pete Carroll era? They're the best, maybe, I think it is, at home. At Arizona, it's going to be tough. So you play Arizona, Niners, Bills, at Rams, and then your prime time against the Cardinals. So I suppose that's... And then prime time at Philadelphia. Wait, so you got 2 prime times in a row. You get the long extra break though, Thursday to Monday. So that's fantastic. And the Eagles are later. Could they be beat up around this time? You always question those same teams who was recently beat up. It's a good schedule for the Seahawks. You play the AFC East. It's a good schedule for the Seahawks. They will not have a problem with that. And that's it. How many? We take a look at the prime times. Home, away. You wish it was a little more even, but we've actually seen worse. We've seen teams with only away games, and we've seen teams with only home games. I just don't understand that. Tough job to make the schedules once again. Just don't understand that. You think it can be a little more even. So that's going to wrap it up. We went through all these teams here for their schedules, and let me know your guys' thoughts. That's my take on schedules every year. Pretty unique way, I suppose. I think it's more than about the opponents. It's about the layout, where you play, when you play, all that. So, let me know your thoughts. That's going to do it for this one. We're going to wrap it up here. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe. Click that like button, and follow our Twitter. Must follow, in my opinion. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching, though. Goodbye.